What is the most pathetic GoFundMe Kickstarter you have seen? There are two that are tied. Help. I committed a hit and run. Was found and also ticketed for driving without a license and insurance. I cannot afford these tickets because I do not have a job and I am only 16. Please help fund my lawyer to get my daughters back after I lost them due to neglect and my drug habit. Help. I fricked up bad and committed a crime. Pay me to help me. I know a couple who did a GoFundMe for their wedding, and then they eloped. It's the 1-year anniversary of their eloping and they're posting about it on Facebook like they didn't up and run away with their friends and family's money. Freaking buttholes. Guy I knew made a GoFundMe asking for $5,000 to move out to LA to attempt becoming a famous artist. Kickstarter is one thing. At least those offer incentives in return. This guy was just straight up asking for money to fund his lifestyle because he has zero initiative to save money himself and parties it all away. $40 was the extent of donations. The page was quietly removed a few weeks later. I love hearing stuff like this. These lazy poses of the world need to learn no one is going to give them money for simply being a douche. A girl in my town did one because she wanted a vagisil and her mum wouldn't give her the money for one. That very briefly went viral before it was taken down. Googly eyes are inexpensive. PLS pay for my honeymoon. We never got a honeymoon because we couldn't afford it. Please pay for us to take a late honeymoon. Same couple. I didn't go on a honeymoon when I got married. We couldn't afford it, plus I had just started a new job that would only let me take the Friday and Monday of my wedding weekend off. Expecting people to pay for a late honeymoon is just tacky and tasteless. Definitely that lady who spent literally all her money buying lottery tickets because she was confident she would win, then started a GoFundMe to get back on her feet. It was thousands and thousands of dollars if I remember correctly. I think the fundraising site shut it down. Friend of mine had a parent lose their job and consequently requested money for recreational purposes because she wanted to enjoy the college experience. Normally, I would have chipped in, but her dad was a long-time executive at a big insurance company and she drove a new BMW as a high schooler. Not to mention, she was going to college on a scholarship. I think she still pulled like $200. This is more in the analog world, but is kind of the same vein. My wife's cousin had a baby shower. The whole family bought her a boatload of stuff. Walkers, car seat, stroller, all the standard expensive baby stuff. Well, after her baby was done with all of it, she sold it, probably for weed money. Then she got pregnant with her second child. At age 19, she decided to hold a second baby shower. She was the entire family didn't just buy her all the expensive crap they already bought her over again. Ugh. I hate people like this. Add on to that people won't accept second hand for their kids, even from their older children. My brother kept talking about getting a new car but he never saved any money. Turns out he made a GoFundMe for our dog for $20,000 for his surgery. He got a few friends to donate before we shut it down. He still claims someone else made it even though it's got a lot of info it would be unlikely for anyone to know outside the family. I'm sorry, but your brother sounds crappy. My sister posting one asking for money because she couldn't pay her rent because she can't hold a job down, doesn't like to take responsibility for her actions, and just expects everyone else to take care of her. The amount of people I know from back home that start these, "Oh, I need food for myself and my dog. Don't ask why I got a puppy when I'm literally homeless and can't even afford to feed myself. I can however somehow afford to quit every job I've ever had and uphold a drug addiction." Then they message you asking you to share and donate. God, I don't miss Facebook. I have a few friends who constantly post GoFundMe and Kickstarter things for living, moving, vacations, starting a business, etc. And while I feel for them, it is kind of annoying. I'm embarrassed for them. It's essentially the legal, online form of panhandling. I just saw two in the last week. One has made money and one hasn't yet. The first is this very attractive girl. Her looks probably matter to the story, who posted a GoFundMe to get an extra $100 to help with her vacation. Her story was that she is a full-time nurse who also struggles with a health condition and needs a break. She has enough for the trip that she has been saving months for, but the extra $100 will help her cover some extra things. I checked it yesterday and she has almost $1,000. Someone donated $300 to her. The other is some broke stoner kid who wants $1,000 to buy music equipment for his crappy rap career. It was only posted this morning, but when I clicked it, he had $20 donated to himself. He donated his own money towards it. Sometimes I feel like people donate to themselves because they think it'll make others more likely to donate. Kind of like how people tend to put money in tip jars if there is already money in there. Guy who has money for mods on his automatic FRS and flaunts wads of cash on his Facebook, asks for handout when his car got vandalized. This wouldn't be too bad, but an automatic FRS just makes the thing 100 times worse. I knew a girl who started a GoFundMe for a down payment on a house. Her justification was that she throws huge parties and everyone would come party there. Imagine donating to that crap and then not even getting invited to any parties. This girl I went to high school with's boyfriend was killed in a car accident a year or so ago. She started a GoFundMe for herself to pay rent and other expenses for her and their baby, aka dog. They were not married and she was not expected to pay for any of the funeral costs. She was just trying to get free money because something bad happened. Car accident. Give us several $1,000s for our wedding. When confronted, the girl said that she was being humble enough to ask for help when she needed it. Too bad she couldn't be humble enough to just get married at the courthouse. You're entitled to a marriage, you are not entitled to a wedding. Definitely Zana Joshi's You Care fundraiser. If you somehow don't know who she is, she's the lady who overreacted to a guy saying that his name was Humongous. She tried to make money because she was harassed by Humongous and wants to stop the patriarchy. What she got instead was a crap ton of $1 donations telling her how much of a sensitive piece of crap she was. That lady was another kind of messed up, who gets that upset at a guy making a joke at honestly his own expense. A girl I knew a few years ago decided to quit her job and travel the world for a year. Racked up something like $30,000 in credit card debt and then started a GoFundMe to support her new freeing lifestyle. Wrote a wild diatribe about how important it is she not work and continue to live and travel doing nothing. I think it made like $200. It was so cringy to read. When I was a film major, one of my film professors started a Kickstarter campaign for a zombie film app called Zombie Map. I'm pretty sure most of the contributions were from film students who feel committed to support him because it was a crappy idea for a lot of money. The idea of the app is that filmmakers can film zombie movies, short films, and upload it on the app. The app acts like a GPS. If you click on an area with an outbreak, then you get to see the movies that are set in that area. It never achieved its goal, but it was pretty close. I've heard some bad half-assed business ideas, but this has got to be one of the worst ideas that someone actually spent a significant amount of time on. This couple made one to have people pay to get them to meet. A long-distance relationship. Even worse was they were known for breaking up frequently and had already made 2 GoFundMe posts about the same thing. I think the worst of all was that they actually made a decent amount of money each time. There was a day-old account over on our tuber that asked everyone on the sub to review his post on Kickstarter. Always happy to help another tuber player. I checked it out. Maybe he was starting some sort of organization for tubbyists. Maybe he was helping kids. Who knew? It was literally just a dude who played in high school asking people to buy him a tuber. A new $9,000 tuber at that. The members of the sub were not very impressed, and the OP quickly deleted the thread and Kickstarter after. I want something I can't afford. Will you get it for me? An in-law of mine is dying of COPD. She never stopped smoking, even though her initial diagnosis was 10 years ago. So far, $1,300 has been donated so her husband can quit work to take care of her, a job her daughter is already doing. Thinking about the whole situation just upsets me. I have a friend who's kinda cute but she's got no boobs. She started a GoFundMe for a boob job, and people donate because she's cute. You know, every guy that gives her money is going to want to see them when they're finished, and possibly before. Any Kickstarter asking for people to pay for their backpacking trip to Thailand or something to help them discover themselves. I almost downvoted out of anger. This one guy wanted to take his girlfriend to EDC for their 1-year anniversary. He was asking around $700 for tickets alone. People roasted him and told him to get a job. He didn't consider hotel, airfare, food, etc. Yikes. For my 1-year anniversary, we went and glazed pomade bowls for each other and went to a restaurant. Not the most pathetic but the most ridiculous is this one couple asking for money for IVF. Asking for IVF isn't absurd by the circumstances around it were. They were asking for $10K saying they couldn't afford any of it. They didn't have insurance and were broke. They didn't even have money for a car. Perhaps a time when you have no health insurance, no transportation, and are broke is not the time you should be planning on having a baby. Some completely random guy posted about wanting to quit his job and become a full-time YouTube Let's Player. He wanted $5,000 to get started. He got a whopping $5 and you gotta think it was a friend who felt bad for him or even just the guy donating to himself from another account. Girl I know who 50% of her status were bitching about welfare and how she works hard for her money and supports her kids unlike all the people mooching off the system. She started a Kickstarter to get a new apartment because there wasn't enough space for her kids and they had run into some issues that were keeping them stuck in a cycle of not having enough money. First 5 or so comments were all saying variations of gee, if only there were some type of system to help people out of these situations so that people's lives don't get ruined by cycles of poverty. It just came across so stupid because she was so vocal for years just because she had never run into hard times as a stay-at-home mom. Saw one on our Wat Koljerong. Guy jumps off a 2-story balcony into the pool only was a complete idiot and misses the pool and lands on his feet, breaking both. Just your typical idiot. Started up a GoFundMe to pay for his medical bills. I believe that one got laughed out of existence. I saw a similar thing happen with a woman. She jumped off of a roof and broke both of her legs. Her mom then tried to raise money and it also got laughed off. I volunteered as a teacher in Fiji. Another chick who was going in the same group I was started a GoFundMe for herself asking people to help pay for her expenses. It was bad enough that she volunteered yet wanted others to pay for her to do it, and then she shared it in the volunteer Facebook group saying please help out. It's pretty normal for people to ask for donations when they are doing volunteer work in another country. Posting it on the page with all the other volunteers though, that's hilarious. Back when the Powerball was over $1 billion, so couple put all their money into it because they assumed they could win with that many tickets and obviously came out with next to nothing. They started a page and the website thankfully removed it. There was also one for a girl in Baltimore I believe who spent like $300 on an Uber ride because she was too drunk to care that there was a surcharge, which they make you confirm that you still want the extra pricey ride. Well, it turns out that she needed that money for rent and started a page. What's more amazing is that there are people who actually pay these idiots money. Those types of sites are 0.05% legit donation reasons and 98.5% bulls. The other 1% is the people who make jokes like I need $1.75 for a peanut butter sandwich. Old family friend posts pictures of him in a wheelchair and pretends to be a disabled army vet. He was kicked out of the army for stealing large amounts of R15 parts and selling them. He uses the money to buy new cars and dirt bikes all the time. Piece of crap. He's disgusting. The little boy from Chicago who died because his dad was associated to gangs. Well, his mom set up a GoFundMe account to pay for the funeral but a local church covered the cost. So she spent the money on a new Lincoln Navigator and the dad tried to jump on board making a GoFundMe account for himself. That was fricked up. Profit over your dead child. Shenmue 3. While the project itself probably isn't the type of thing you think of when someone says pathetic, and certainly it's not, but the fact that this is a Kickstarter backed and publicized by Sony, freaking Sony, put center stage during their E3 presentation with their own exclusive time slot. What the frick? I'm sure Sony were very unsure about the project when they decided to do that. The idea of Sony, one of the largest publishers in the world, if not the largest, asking fans to fund development of a critically acclaimed classic series. It's just obscene. And the most pathetic part is it was fully backed almost instantly. Really, I'm just waiting for Activision to kickstart a Call of Duty title. That is the only thing left that could outdo this. Girl I went to school had a Kickstarter for a 10k trip to Europe. She is the poster child for a girl with princess syndrome. One of my friends had cancer and set up a GoFundMe to help pay some of the costs. Dude was also a full-time student and worker. He ended up in remission and is healthy to this day. Well, a few months after he went into remission, he got a phone call from a friend who was very concerned because she had read that the cancer had come back. This was news to my friend, because his cancer certainly had not come back. Turns out, his mom, who is crazy, needed some extra cash, and created a new GoFundMe privately and only shared it with certain people on her Facebook that had a whole lengthy sob story about how the cancer had come back and more money was needed, complete with a photo of my friend in the hospital. Problem was, she's a moron, and it was still directly linked to her Facebook. I want to say $700 had been raised by the time we caught her, and she denies it to this day. The latest story, as far as I know, is that someone broke into her house and used her computer to create the GoFundMe. No idea where the money went. No consequences faced. Easily the lowest thing I've ever seen someone do. To exploit your own son's illness? Freaking disgusting. Semi-famous or even famous musicians setting up GoFundMe pages to fund the production of a new album. Pay for me to make this album. If it flops, I won't be out any money, and if it gets popular, I'll rake in the cash. Some dude I didn't know very well set up a Kickstarter in my name to buy me a new car because mine broke down every few weeks. I appreciated it, but it also made me want to die. Throwaway because reasons. I'm from the Boston area, and after the Boston Marathon bombing, my good friend's little sister was in critical condition for a bit and their mom lost both legs. Really sad and tragic. The community did a few fundraiser events to help offset medical costs and build a ramp to their home. All great stuff and stuff that they really appreciated and needed. About 6 months later, my friend's sister made a GoFundMe to help her boyfriend with car maintenance. The basic description was that he was awesome and helped her get to so many doctor's appointments. It hit and the marathon bombings and was a woe is me, this has been terrible sort of post which contradicted all the updates she had been posting on Facebook. She basically was being very strong and resilient and pushing on despite what happened, but now was pushing the tragedy side of things to try and get a bunch of caring people to give money that wasn't really for her. I realize that people in those situations have good and bad days, but exploiting tragedy makes me angry. My cousin started a GoFundMe to buy dresses for a pageant. She then complained on Facebook the day after creating it that her friends and family liked her post with the GoFundMe link but didn't donate. Meanwhile, she's 24, hasn't held down a job for longer than 3 months and has dropped out of 3 colleges. Recently helped her with her resume, but she told me she couldn't apply to jobs because she couldn't afford a laptop. Tell her, libraries, not just for books. I had the greatest idea for a Kickstarter, then I realized it would have fit this category. Project is to develop a time machine. Hire someone to go back in time. They must bring their own weapons. They go back to the time just before Jesus' birth. They record and document whatever the frick actually happened with him. They hide the tapes in a secret location and never reveal their identities or any of what they've done so as to not upset the timeline. In 2020 we go to the location, recover the tapes. Everyone who contributed gets a copy of the tape. Problem is finding some kind of digital media which would keep the recording that long, which I don't think exists. Yep, that's the only problem with that whole business plan. A girl I went to school with started a GoFundMe to buy a top-of-the-range prosthetic leg for her dog. Her dog lost its leg because she set it loose in a cattle field and it spooked a cow, which then kicked the dog and wrecked its leg. She didn't have any pet insurance. Her sister donated 15 quid. Dogs are fine on 3 legs. You can name the pup something cool like Tripod or Peggy or Lucky or Eileen. Someone I know has been battling cancer and she is a doll. Really? But she started a GoFundMe page to get money to give to her parents because they lost money losing work or something like that, in order to help her out and watch her daughter when she was going through chemo. Why did it bother me? Because her husband is a doctor and she's a nurse, and they live in a very prominent neighborhood and are pretty much rich. I just thought, really they are far from struggling. I know her parents are separate from her life and her finances, but I still thought it was strange that she of all people would be asking for donations to give to her parents. Surely she could have helped them out herself? I don't know. I mean, I would be taking out a second mortgage on my big butt house, putting my big fat diamond engagement ring on eBay, etc. before I started a GoFundMe page for that. But maybe there's more to the story, I don't know. I actually saw a Kickstarter one time titled, "Help me fulfill my dream of being a millionaire." I don't remember if anyone contributed to it or not. A friend of mine got stabbed by a crazy coworker while at work. The aggressor had lupus and she claimed that made her crazy, which is actually crazy because lupus won't make you lose touch with reality. I mean, really stabbed, like 4 and deep wound in her abdomen. This was totally random and unwarranted. She spent over a week in the hospital and had a few surgeries to repair the damage and suffers from PTSD over the incident. Well, the family of the girl that stabbed her started a GoFundMe to raise money for an attorney and legal fees. They never mentioned anything about her stabbing. They just talked about how they needed money to pay for her accumulating hospital bills. It got shut down pretty fast and they didn't raise a dime. Yeah, that girl is facing serious prison time now. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.